Israel was chosen, yet it had fallen. The people had forgotten their God, and darkness ruled the land. But in the midst of defeat, a promise was born. A child, set apart before his first breath. A Nazarite, a man whose strength would shake the earth. His name was Samson. No army could stand against him. No beast could tear him down. He tore lions with his bare hands, lifted city gates, and crushed warriors like dust. But even the strongest fall, not to enemies with swords, but to whispers in the dark. Her name was Delilah. Her kiss was sweet, but her betrayal deadly. She robbed him of the vow, the strength, the spirit, and the champion of Israel became a slave, blind, bound, broken. But God was not finished. In the silence of chains, Samson remembered the voice that called him, and though his eyes saw nothing, his soul saw everything. In the end, he stood once more. One final act, one final prayer, and the walls of the enemy came crashing down. This is not just the story of a man, it is the warning of a fall and the power of redemption. Samson, the movie. Our story unfolds during a somber era for the Israelites, who languished under Philistine oppression for 40 years. In the town of Zorah, nestled in the tribe of Dan, lived a man named Manoah and his wife. Though they were devout, they bore the heavy burden of childlessness. One day, an angel of the Lord appeared to Manoah's wife, proclaiming, "Though you are barren, you will conceive and bear a son. Now, be careful to drink no wine or strong drink, and eat nothing unclean, for the boy shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb. He will begin to deliver Israel from the hands of the Philistines." Overjoyed and astonished, the woman hurried to inform her husband of the divine message. Manoah entreated the Lord to send the angel once more to instruct them on raising the child. God heeded his plea, and the angel returned, reiterating the instructions. The boy was to be consecrated as a Nazarite, dedicated to God's service from birth. In due time, the woman bore a son and named him Samson. As he grew, the Lord blessed him, and the Spirit of the Lord began to stir within him in Mahaneh-dan, between Zorah and Eshtaol. As a young man, Samson traveled to Timnah, where he was captivated by a Philistine woman. He returned home and implored his parents.
"I have seen a Philistine woman in Timnah. Now get her for me as my wife."
His parents were dismayed, asking,
"Isn't there an acceptable woman among your relatives, or among all our people? Must you go to the uncircumcised Philistines to get a wife?"
But Samson insisted.
"Get her for me. She is the right one for me."
His parents did not realize that this was from the Lord, who was seeking an occasion to confront the Philistines. On his way to Timnah, Samson encountered a young lion. The Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him, and with his bare hands he tore the lion apart as one might tear a young goat. However, he did not tell his parents what he had done. Later, when he returned to marry the woman, he turned aside to look at the lion's carcass. In it, he saw a swarm of bees and some honey. He scooped out the honey with his hands and ate it as he went along. When he rejoined his parents, he gave them some, and they too ate it. But he did not tell them that he had taken the honey from the lion's carcass. At the wedding feast in Timnah, Samson proposed a riddle to his 30 Philistine companions. He said,
"Let me tell you a riddle. If you can give me the answer within the 7 days of the feast, I will give you 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes. If you can't tell me the answer, you must give me 30 linen garments and 30 sets of clothes."
"Tell us your riddle. Let's hear it."
"Out of the eater, something to eat. Out of the strong, something sweet."
For 3 days, they could not give the answer. On the 4th day, they said to Samson's wife,
"Coax your husband into explaining the riddle for us, or we will burn you and your father's household to death. Did you invite us here to steal our property?"
Then Samson's wife threw herself on him, sobbing.
"You hate me. You don't really love me. You've given my people a riddle, but haven't told me the answer."
"I haven't even explained it to my father or mother, so why should I explain it to you?"
She cried the whole 7 days of the feast, so on the 7th day, he finally told her because she continued to press him. She in turn explained the riddle to her people. Before sunset on the 7th day, the men of the town said to him,
"What is sweeter than honey? What is stronger than a lion?"
Samson said to them, "If you had not plowed with my heifer, you would not have solved my riddle."
Then the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon him. He went down to Ashkelon, struck down 30 of their men, stripped them of everything, and gave their clothes to those who had explained the riddle. Burning with anger, he returned to his father's home. And Samson's wife was given to one of his companions who had attended him at the feast. Later on, during the wheat harvest, Samson took a young goat and went to visit his wife.
"I'm going to my wife's room."
But her father would not let him go in.
I was so sure you hated her that I gave her to your companion. Isn't her younger sister more attractive? Take her instead."
Samson said to them, "This time I have a right to get even with the Philistines. I will really harm them." In the heat of his fury, Samson devised a plan that no one saw coming. He caught 300 foxes, wild and swift, and tied them in pairs by their tails, each pair connected by a fiery torch. With a single spark, the flames erupted, lighting up the night sky. The foxes, scared and frantic, raced through the fields, their tails ablaze. Everywhere they ran, through the wheat, the vineyards, the olive groves, everything burned. The smoke rose high into the heavens, and the mighty Philistines watched in horror as their crops turned to ash. "Who did this?" they demanded, their anger reaching a boiling point. And the answer came swiftly. "Samson, the son-in-law of the man from Timnah. He did this because his wife was given to another." The Philistines were enraged. In a cruel twist of vengeance, they captured Samson's wife and her father, and they burned them alive. When Samson heard of their brutal act, a fire of rage burned deep inside him. He vowed to bring justice.
"Since you've done this to me, I will make you pay. I will not stop until I've taken my revenge."
With a roar, Samson launched himself into battle, striking down Philistine after Philistine. His strength was unstoppable, and the land trembled beneath his fury. When the dust settled, he retreated to a cave in the rocky hills of Etam, knowing the Philistines would soon come after him. The Philistines, eager for revenge, gathered their forces and marched into Judah. They camped at Lehi, their presence a threat to the people of Israel. "Why have you done this to us? Why have you brought the Philistines against us?"
"I only did to them what they did to me."
We've come to bind you and hand you over to the Philistines.
"Swear to me that you won't kill me yourselves."
We swear we won't kill you."
And so they bound Samson with 2 new ropes and led him out of the cave, the weight of his strength impossible to ignore. They marched him toward the Philistine camp, unaware that Samson was about to unleash a power they could never imagine. Unaware that Samson was about to unleash a power they could never imagine. As Samson walked toward the Philistine army, something incredible happened. The air seemed to crackle with energy, and the ground beneath him rumbled. The ropes that bound him, mere threads in the face of divine power, snapped apart like burnt straw. Samson was free. His eyes scanned the battlefield. In the dust and chaos, his gaze landed on a jawbone lying forgotten in the dirt. It was the jawbone of a donkey, but to Samson, it became a weapon of divine vengeance. He grabbed the jawbone with both hands, its weight no burden to him. With a battle cry, he swung it, his muscles rippling with divine strength. One after another, the Philistines fell before him, stunned by the sheer fury of his attack. 1,000 men, each one stronger than the last, lay scattered at his feet, defeated by a single man and the power of the Lord. When the battle finally ceased and Samson stood amidst the wreckage of his enemies, he looked to the heavens and said, "With the jawbone of a donkey, I have struck down 1,000 men." Then dropping the jawbone to the ground, he named the place Ramath Lehi, meaning Jawbone Hill. It was a hill that would forever stand as a monument to his incredible victory. But even a mighty warrior like Samson has his limits. The thirst was unbearable, and as the sweat ran down his face, his strength began to fade. Samson, lying on the ground, lifted his eyes to the heavens and cried out, "You've given me this great victory, Lord. But now, will I die of thirst, only to fall into the hands of the Philistines?" His prayer echoed in the barren land, and then a miracle. God opened up a hollow place in the rock, and water flowed from it, clear and fresh. Samson drank deeply, the cool water reviving him. His strength returned, and with it a renewed sense of purpose. He named the spring En-Hakkore, Spring of the Caller, a reminder of God's provision in his darkest hour. For 20 years, Samson led Israel with strength and courage, a judge in the midst of oppression. But even as he triumphed over the Philistines, there was more to his story. More battles, more challenges, and a destiny that would ultimately test him in ways he never expected. As the years passed, Samson's fame spread throughout Israel. Yet despite his victories, his heart was torn by desires he couldn't control. One day, he found himself in the city of Gaza, where he met a woman named Delilah. She was beautiful, cunning, and unbeknownst to Samson, she had already been approached by the rulers of the Philistines. They saw in Samson not just a threat, but a weakness they could exploit. Delilah, their secret ally, was offered a large sum of money if she could uncover the secret to Samson's strength and help them defeat him. But Samson, blinded by his affection for her, did not suspect the danger lurking in her eyes. Delilah, with her honeyed words and soft touch, wove herself deeper into Samson's life.
Samson, tell me the secret of your great strength. How is it that you can defeat armies with your bare hands?
Samson, with his heart open to her, hesitated at first, but finally gave her a riddle to unravel.
If you bind me with 7 fresh bowstrings, I will become as weak as any other man.
That night, Delilah invited the Philistine rulers into her home, and under the guise of care, she tied Samson up with the bowstrings.
Samson, the Philistines are upon you.
But when she called out, he snapped the bowstrings like they were mere threads.
You've mocked me. Tell me the truth. What is the secret of your strength?
If you bind me with new ropes, I will be helpless.
Once again, she called the Philistine leaders, who came to her home and tied him up with fresh ropes.
The Philistines are upon you.
When she shouted, Samson tore through the ropes as if they were nothing. But Delilah was relentless. She wept, playing on his emotions.
How can you say you love me when you won't even trust me with the truth?
Finally, after days of pleading, Samson gave in. In a moment of vulnerability, he told Delilah the truth. "No razor has ever touched my head, for I have been a Nazirite from birth. If my hair is shaved, my strength will leave me, and I will become as weak as any other man." Delilah's eyes gleamed with triumph, but her voice remained soft as she whispered, "Thank you for trusting me." She immediately sent word to the Philistine rulers, and they came quickly, bringing a large sum of silver with them. That night, Delilah lulled Samson to sleep on her lap. With a sharp razor, she shaved off his 7 locks of hair, and in that moment his strength left him. But when he tried to rise and shake off his enemies, he found that he was powerless. The mighty warrior, the judge of Israel, was now nothing more than a man. The Philistines seized him, gouged out his eyes, and bound him in chains. They took him to Gaza, where they imprisoned him in a dungeon, grinding grain in the darkness like a common slave. For the first time in years, Samson felt the weight of his own weakness. But even in his lowest point, the God of Israel had not abandoned him. The Philistines, in their pride, held a great celebration in the temple of their god, Dagon. They were filled with joy, boasting about how they had captured Samson, the man who had terrorized them for so long. Samson, led by a young boy who guided him to the temple, stood before the crowd of Philistines. His hair had begun to grow back, though he was still blind and weak. With his hands resting on the pillars of the temple, he whispered a prayer to the Lord.
Sovereign Lord, remember me. Please, God, strengthen me just once more, and let me with one blow get revenge on the Philistines for my 2 eyes.
The strength that had once been his returned, but this time It was not for his own glory. He pushed against the pillars with all his might, and the temple began to shake. With a deafening crash, the walls collapsed. The roof caved in, and the Philistines were buried in the rubble. Samson, with his final act of strength, brought down the house of Dagon. He died with the Philistines, but in his death, he killed more enemies than in his entire life. The story of Samson is a warning and a wonder, a tale of divine purpose and human failure. But even in defeat, there was redemption. Even in blindness, there was vision. And even in death, there was victory. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the powerful story of Samson. We believe in bringing the timeless wisdom of the Bible to life, making it accessible for everyone, everywhere. If this story touched your heart, and if you want to hear more incredible Bible stories that inspire, teach, and uplift, we invite you to become part of our community at Living Faith Motion. By joining, you're helping us continue to bring these powerful stories to life, free for all to watch and experience. Your support in any form means the world to us. Whether you share our work, contribute your time, or donate, you're helping to spread the message of faith, hope, and resilience. Together, we can reach more hearts and change more lives. Join Living Faith Motion today and help us keep this mission alive, accessible, and free for everyone. Thank you for being a part of this movement of faith. Your support means more than words can say. Together, we can inspire and build a world rooted in faith.